it's Karen. I'm going to do my third and final movie review on the film Something Ventured. I chose to do this movie because it was free to watch on Amazon, and I was like, why not? It was good enough for me. So I begin to watch this film, and I was really confused about what it was about. I really thought it was about the rise of Silicon Valley, which it was in a sense, but it was mostly about raising capital and trying to get some of these tech companies started. First of all, I wanted to know the exact definition of venture capital. So as I found on Google, it was capital invested in a project in which there is a substantial element of risk, typically on a new or expanding business. So I think this fit very well on the definition because a lot of these were tech companies. So this film includes big name in the tech company industry such as Tandem, Atari, and Apple. These were really big companies, and we can see the kind of like the adventures of what the founders go through in order to raise money to start producing. I thought it was really interesting that these founders were so relentless with their ideas because they're basically creating these new markets that didn't exist, and they had all the right ideas but no money. And this film is a lot about persuasion and how to get people to give you their money. Most of these stories in the film date back to the 60s and 70s, and as it was expected during these times, all of the industry leaders were men, and there wasn't very much diversity in the film at all, but I think just based on the setting, it was kind of expected. Another topic that was touched in this film was corporate etiquette and the idea that one should act a certain way in the corporate world even if that isn't who you are. The idea that you have a non-conventional character who is brilliant and trying to raise money for their company, but you can't bring that guy to Wall Street because of the way he is, so you basically have to put him in a suit or he isn't going to get listened to, and that actually really worked for them very, very well. Something else that stood out for me from this film is the part where the genetic engineering and how it was made possible by thinking outside the box. Genentech is a company that got started with $250,000, and it came to be valued at $47 billion in 2009. And one of the founders of this company, mentions that it felt good to be able to make money while changing the world, and I think this is a good example of corporate responsibility. And then lastly, I would like to mention so the Apple example. I thought it was very interesting because investors didn't really see the potential value of a home computer. They couldn't really understand the concept of like having a computer at home and how that would be beneficial or add value to people's lives. So looking back now, I'm sure they probably regret the decision not to make the initial investment, and they did mention that in the film. It's like, oh, I could have owned a third of Apple for, I think it was like $50,000. So now they regret not investing in it to begin with. But then again, like, this was a whole new market, so they had no idea that it was going to take off as fast as they did. And I can relate that back to this book that I just read. I think it's the Blue Ocean Strategy, where you just like are basically creating a new market instead of competing in a market that is already there. So I thought it was interesting that Steve Jobs couldn't get funding initially for his computer, and how he was perceived negatively because of his image, and he wasn't really trying to get in a suit and go to Wall Street and try to raise money. He was trying to approach this with his own personality. So that was very interesting to see that investors didn't see the value in his product just based off what he looked like. And of course, Apple went on to do just fine by the end. But I think overall, the film, even though I couldn't like really figure out exactly what it was about in the beginning, I think it was more about perception and getting people to do what you want based on, like, you know, what the value that you're trying to give them. So overall, I think it was a pretty interesting film.